Hello, everyone. Welcome to Three Themes Live. I've got Sandra with me here today.
I'm excited to be here.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited, Sandra, because we are introducing a new theme for this month for Stitch Your Story, and we have a very special guest on with us for theme number 1 that you are not going to want to miss. So welcome to Three Themes Live, where theme number 1 is something to smile about, theme number 2 is something to learn, and theme number 3 is something to discover. Let's go. Welcome to Three Themes Live. I'm Kris here at my girlfriend's quilt shop, and so happy you decided to join us on this beautiful summer afternoon. Oh my goodness, we're loving it. We're loving the weather. We're loving all the themes. The kids are out of school, and you know, just because we're taking vacations all around here does not mean that sewing ever takes a vacation, right? So we hope that you'll continue sewing and learning with us throughout the summer. We've got some really fun shows planned. And we start off and kick off with June 2025 with a brand new Stitch Your Story theme. So, are you ready for it? You know, we've done some great themes leading up to now, and this month is no different because we're talking about family tree. Family tree. All right, does that scare anyone? I sure hope not. You know, it's really nice to know, you know, where did we come from, or what is the relationship that we can have with our grandparents, or maybe perhaps even great-grandparents for some of us. Those relationships are so important, and we carry that through our quilting and our love of creating and sewing and all those things. And so today, as we kick off a new month of Stitch Your Story, I've got some very special people with me to do just that. So let's welcome Sandra and Cheri.
Hi, Kris.
So excited to have these two. Now, these are familiar faces to all of you, right? But we also have somebody who may not be a familiar face, and that's Debbie Hepner. Thanks, Debbie, for being with us today.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Oh, my goodness. So for those of you who may wonder, who is Debbie? Tell us more about her. We're going to do that. And to start off with, she's an author, and she wrote the book called Grandma's Comfort Quilt. And this book is so sweet. It just grabbed at my heartstrings. Oh. From the moment I saw it, and I said, we have got to have Debbie Hepner on the show with us. She doesn't live too far from here either.
I think she's almost neighbors to Cheri.
That's right. And so we thought, you know what, this is going to be the perfect book to start off a conversation this month for talking about the relationship between a grandchild and a grandparent. Right?
Very special.
Very special. So can you tell us a little bit about how did you first come up with the idea of Grandma's Comfort Quilt, the book?
Well, I've always been interested in fabric. My mom was a seamstress, and she taught me a lot about fabric and threads and things like that. But I wanted to become a teacher, so the second influence was when I was teaching. Have you ever heard of the Underground Railroad quilt patterns?
Yes, absolutely.
I copied those for my students every year. They colored them, and we made a quilt, a large quilt for our classroom. What an inspiration for these slaves that weren't allowed to read or write, but yet they had symbols in their quilting that helped them escape. That was one of my favorite lessons ever. So that was part of it, but one of the big influences was my sister. My husband had made me a couple of sets of quilting frames, and I would quilt once in a while, but my sister borrowed them. And she started turning out some beautiful quilts for babies, and she even made king-size quilts. They were so beautiful. But the thing that sparked the story was when we went to a quilt fair.
Okay.
And the second I started looking at these beautiful quilts and textures and patterns. I knew I had to combine her talent for the quilt making and my talent for writing. So,
love that.
Wow,
That's
I love
awesome.
that too.
so that's what I did. And then the aspirations in it came from the aspirations that I tried to instill in my students when I taught. So that's why there's aspirations all over the quilt. The hearts are because that's my favorite shape, and I told my illustrator there has to be hearts on it. There has to be hearts on this quilt.
There has to be hearts. Oh my goodness, I love
So
that.
that's where that came
all
from.
those little inspirations added up to this, didn't it?
Yes.
Okay, I love this. How many grandchildren do you have?
I have 4 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren.
Oh my goodness. And
Yes.
so is one the particular child in
No.
here? Is this after someone?
All of my other books are based on things that happen with my grandchildren, but this one is different.
Okay.
This one, I especially didn't name the child and the grandma because I wanted this read for every child to be special. So there's not a particular name to the child and the grandmother. I wanted grandparents to share it and make every child feel special.
I love that.
That is a great
So-
personal like
Yeah.
insight to the book, because
It
I hadn't
really
noticed
is.
that, but when you said that, I was like, that's right.
Yeah,
I love that.
Absolutely.
And then illustrators, all of my illustrators like to add animals. And the reason they do that is because children are attracted to animals.
they are.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. I think
so-
that is so, well, an animal in itself is very comforting.
yes.
So,
yes.
and then you combine that
Yes.
with the quilt, you know? So I love that. So why don't, would you give us a synopsis of what is taking place in this book?
Okay, this is about Grandma. She makes a quilt for her granddaughter. It's called the Comfort Quilt, and it has aspirations like cherished, precious, kind. What is it? 12 aspirations, I think there are.
I think so.
And so
The 12
she
blocks,
sits
yeah.
when she goes to visit Grandma, she sits in the rocking chair with Grandma with the quilt over them, and Grandma begins to explain why she's so special. And was what I wanted every grandma to tell their grandchildren, not just to tell them they were loved, but to tell them why they were loved and what are the things they possess that make them so special. So it was written for all grandchildren everywhere.
I love that. And some of those aspirations are found in here. Let's take a look. We have precious and cherished, happy, admired, unique, clever, delightful, appreciate. What are some of the ways that you came up with those particular aspirations? Because there are so many that we could choose from.
There are a lot,
How did you
and-
narrow it down?
Well, I did have a lot, and when I had it edited, my editor showed me the ones that were too similar. You know, this one means pretty much the same as this one does. So she helped me narrow it down, but these are aspirations that I taught my students when I was teaching. These are things that you should be proud of. And so one of the things that I really liked what the illustrator did is these, when she's thinking about something, what she's thinking, especially
Yeah.
the clever one. I like that one.
Oh, that's so cute. So it says here that clever means you are very quick-witted and can accomplish anything that you focus your mind on. I think that's so cute, you know, to
Yeah.
tell a child you are so clever. They might not understand what that exactly means,
Right.
but this is how
This
you
is what
explain
it
it
means.
to them, right?
This is what it means when someone tells you you're clever.
And she's thinking about it and she's writing out, you know, it on the chalkboard. I think that is so cute. I love how when she's hugging Grandma and Grandma says blessed, it means people are very fortunate to have you in their lives. This was my favorite word because my dear Grandma gives me a great big hug every time she said the word. So blessed. Don't you feel that way with your grandchildren?
Yes.
Totally, yeah. I feel so lucky to have them in my life. And, you know, a lot of my grandkids are in other places, and so the ones that are here, I like to cherish the time that I get to spend with them.
So I spent long hours looking for an illustrator that I thought would go with the story. And one of the first pictures he sent me was the grandma.
And you fell in love with her.
Yes, I fell in love with her modern look, kind of, and I love the glasses hanging off her nose, because that's what grandmas do. To see close up, you know. I loved that. And then when he created the granddaughter, I fell in love because he put, and he didn't even know, actually the author, the illustrator is from New Zealand, and we corresponded back and forth, but the little girl has green eyes like me. So I thought, yes, I like that little girl. There's a little bit of me in there. I like that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
She could look a little like you, I think. Absolutely. Yeah, this really is so sweet.
And I like the red hair was pop, you know. I don't have red hair, but it was a pop of color. I liked that.
I love this when she explains the word strong. And it says, as we snuggled and rocked, I would point to the word strong. Grandma said I was strong because I could stick with challenging tasks for a long time and I would never give up. I flexed my muscles and Grandma laughed.
Yeah, see what the illustrator put up there?
It's so cute.
Yeah.
It really is the sweetest story, some of the most beautiful illustrations. I would absolutely agree. And I love the whole sentiment of this entire story. Now, this story takes a little bit of a turn towards the end. So tell us about that.
So in the end, Grandma becomes ill. Well, granddaughter, you know, she's been trained. She knows how to love and she knows how to return it now. So she puts the quilt over Grandma and starts whispering how special Grandma is.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then it just turns around. The bond is sealed, you know. So Grandma wakes up and she's okay, because that's how people are when they're loved and they're cherished and they're blessed. They feel okay inside. So she made Grandma feel better.
I love that.
So one of the pictures that made me cry when he sent it was, we were trying to figure out how to end it, and this one right here with all three of them in the heart, because remember, the heart's my favorite shape. And so all three of them are in the heart.
I love that too. That is,
I just wrote it for
very special.
Grandmas and children all over the world to
I think it's
feel
perfect.
how special they are.
You know, wouldn't it be really neat if you, as a grandma, were to take this idea and give your grandchild this book and perhaps make them their own unique quilt that has words that you want them to
That was,
remember.
yes. And so
You're saying I should start now.
Start now, Cheri.
I got my first one coming in September.
So when my sales got to a certain point, I was planning on having the quilt made and selling it with the book. You know, and I did have one parent who went to her child's classroom and actually made them with them. I think it was out of paper, but still,
that's so sweet.
That
they
is
made it
that
and
is sweet.
connected it
Yeah.
and made it to go with the story.
Cheri, if there was one word that you wanted to make sure that your grandchild remembered, I know I'm putting you on
I
the
know.
spot, but can you think of what
There's
that
like a
one word
million
might
coming to
be?
mind. I think
See?
cherished.
Yeah.
Cherished.
I mean, like, I don't even know them yet, and I already love them, you know? And I'm like, it's just, we were out of town for Memorial Day weekend, and my daughter-in-law is feeling the baby move. And I'm like, I was there for that. And I'm like, you're already cherished, you're already loved. And I think kids lose sight of that so quickly. So.
Oh my goodness, I think
Emotional.
that's beautiful.
That's awesome.
I love that. And that is so true. I think children do lose sight of that very quickly. So it's kind of up to us as parents and grandparents to continue to make them and let them know how cherished they are.
And with this, I think Grandma didn't just do the quilt once. That was something that granddaughter cherished with her grandma, because she looked forward to that time with Grandma. And
it's
tell
also
me
a
about
book
it again.
for grandmas or parents or whomever who can't express that. Just read them the book.
That's a good way to
and
put it.
tell them, this is you. This is
Yeah.
how I feel about you.
That's true.
I think that's great.
I think that's so true. You know, a lot of parents have a hard time, and grandparents have a hard time expressing that love and that appreciation to their grandkids.
Yes.
I think they really
Yes.
do.
If there was one word for you, what would
man.
it be? I know.
I knew you were gonna do that.
I know. I've been thinking that. I don't know what that word would quite be yet.
I feel very blessed.
Yes.
I think that's probably one thing. I feel very blessed to have the grandchildren that I do have. As you look back at other people's situations and different things, there's a lot of people out there that do not have grandchildren,
Sure, yeah.
or aren't blessed with as many grandchildren as others, and so I feel very blessed to have the ones that I have, and to have them be healthy and active, and
Yes.
and be a part of their lives.
The easiest way to lose a sister or a child of your own is for them to have grandchildren. Bye-bye. You don't get to. They're busy now. They're busy.
Oh yeah, I get that. Oh, you're right. Your life
Bye-bye.
changes, doesn't it? Yeah, that's for sure.
I love this, if I can read at the very end, where she's comforting her grandma on the quilt. It says that one day grandma became ill and had to stay in bed. I quickly grabbed the comfort quilt. See, she knew. She knew. And carefully laid it over her. Then I sat next to her and whispered to her all the reasons I loved her so much. You are kind, you are precious, you are strong, you are admired. You are happy, you are cherished, you are unique, you are trustworthy, you are appreciated, you are delightful, you are blessed, and you are clever. So she was sharing those things back to Grandma, which is so sweet. As I softly read the words Grandma had read to me so many times, she smiled with a twinkle in her eyes, and I knew she was going to be okay. That
Just as
is
a
really
child
precious.
is going to be okay when you tell them how special they are.
Absolutely. Why do you think it's important that, we continue to talk about our stories and the legacy that we leave to our children and grandchildren? And why do you think it's important for that relationship to be so strong between a grandparent and a child?
Because they need to know the history and where they came from. Where they came from and their importance in this life. How they got here, their importance, and no better way to tell it than through quilts.
Yeah.
And especially if you give a child a quilt, they'll cherish it forever. I mean, they'll be taking it to college with them.
Yes.
Dragging it around. I mean, it's just a connection that you can't get in pretty much any other way.
That's true. There's a lot of things that you can purchase for that child,
Yep.
but something made
Right.
by hand, by your heart, is a completely different feeling, isn't it?
It is.
In gifting it, and making it, gifting it, and then in receiving it. And I think sometimes we worry that, this child will have no idea, how what was involved with this. Or you might see that child dragging it and think, oh, do you know how much work went into that? But that's not the right mindset.
No.
The mindset we need to have is that child is using it, and that child is loving on it, right?
Loving
Right.
it.
One of the best ways of, that I've seen from my children down the years is if I see a quilt that has been made that has holes in it, or, the edges are raggedy, because I go, oh, they've been using
It's
it.
been
They've
used,
been
it's been
loving
loved,
it.
yeah.
Yes. So that's more of the better, probably mindset, the healthier mindset to be in.
That's what I felt when I went to the quilt fair. The love that was put into all these quilts and the talent.
Yes.
Whoa, the talent to put all these pieces together and
Sure.
make a creation. It's like artwork.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's leaving a little bit of yourself to them.
Who wants to put it on your bed? I want to hang it on the wall. Yeah. Hang it up. It's like a mural.
Yes.
It's a mural of history, and it's just fascinating.
A mural of history.
I love that.
That's what we're doing here at My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop this whole entire year, 2025. We have the theme of Stitch Your Story, and if you haven't jumped on board with it, it's never too late, never ever too late. And if you want to find out more about it, you can just head over to our website, search Stitch Your Story. You can download the free printable that's going to tell you what themes are for each month, to give you some direction perhaps, but you don't have to use those themes. And hopefully by the end of the year, you'll have 12 beautiful blocks that all represent you. And the most beautiful part about this is not one of our quilts will be the same as another. It's completely
That's
unique.
true, yes.
It's completely unique.
Very unique.
So this week we're going to be talking about family tree and different ways to share that message. And there's lots of different ways you can take family tree. We're not just saying you got to start at the bottom and move out to 17 generations. That's not what we're talking about here. A lot of what family tree has to do is more so about the connection that we have with those who've gone before us. And so we can do that through our quilting. Absolutely. This is such a beautiful story. Thank you so much for writing it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. How can someone find out more about you and about how to get a copy of this book?
Well, you can learn more than you'd probably want to know if you go to my website. My website is debstories.com.
Okay.
It also stands for Debbie and Delightfully Entertaining Book.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That works.
And so it's on my website at debstories.com.
Okay.
Everything you want to know. There's several places you can buy it. You can buy the book off my website. You can buy it at Amazon, or I have it for sale on Barnes & Noble. Several
perfect.
places.
Okay.
Check around and see which one's the least expensive. They have different prices.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah.
I know we have a link in the chat for the Amazon link, so if you're trying to find this, and that would be an easy way to find it for sure.
Yes.
And I just think this is a beautiful message that, especially oftentimes many of you right now, especially leading into summer, you're going into family reunion time, right? Wouldn't this be a beautiful story to share at your next family reunion even perhaps? So lots of wonderful messages in here for all of us. Thank you so very much, and we hope this has inspired you all to think a little bit more about the connections that we have with one another. So we appreciate you coming. All right, everyone. Well, are you ready to be inspired by one unique way of creating your own family tree block? Cheri has a really cool technique that she's going to share with us that has a lot of special meaning. That's during theme number 2. And then during theme number 3, this gal right here has made the most sweetest sentimental memory bear. Now, you probably heard about memory bears and have perhaps wondered, how could you do one of those? How are they made? Well, Sandra's going to give us some tips and tricks on doing one and share her special story as well. So we have all of that and more, and we'll be back right after this.
Three Things Live was color crazy last week.
That's right. We learned all about color and how to find just the right color combinations that will help you make your next creation just the way you imagine it.
We also learned about picking your background colors for your quilts, and we took a personality quiz to see what kind of quilty color personality you are.
I really want to be vintage heart.
And Suzanne's picks returned last week. Be sure to tune in and see what colors lie in your future.
I love it, love it, love it.
So fun.
If you haven't been watching live, then tune in at 1 p.m. Mountain and 3 p.m. Eastern and discover what you've been missing.
So find your color inspiration for your next project and so much more by watching 3 Things Live on Facebook or YouTube by clicking the links below. Remember that 3 Things Live is where we always have something to make you smile
Something to learn.
and something to discover.
Let's go.
Hi, it's Kris from My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, and I'm here to ask, have you started your Stitch Your Story blocks yet? If you're wondering what exactly is Stitch Your Story, let me share a few ideas with you. It is actually a movement that we are doing here in the year 2025.
It is the stories of those who came before us that ultimately help us understand who we are as human beings.
We're asking you to create a personal 12.5-inch unfinished quilt block each month. And it's according to a theme. And we're going to give you different ideas throughout the year on what the theme is
and what techniques you could possibly do, because really there's no right or wrong way to do it. It is all up to you and your own creativity.
Today, my legend is a true legend.
Yes.
So I'm really excited.
There's no rules. We want you to have fun and try different techniques throughout the year.
Of course, we gotta have
legs can kick.
major 3D dimension going on.
It's even better than a picture, right?
All your questions could be answered by watching 3 Themes Live every month. That is going to be your go-to resource for everything Stitch Your Story.
As you guys share
Right.
your stories with us, I've learned a little bit more about different people.
We want to celebrate your progress, so please, by all means, share with us your pictures, your stories, and you can do so by using the hashtag StitchYourStory2025 and hashtag MyGirlfriend'sQuiltShop so that we can follow along on your journey to a complete quilt by the end of the year.
Hi everyone, welcome back to 3 Themes Live. I'm Kris.
I'm Cheri.
We're here to talk about another technique that might give you some inspiration on how you may want to do your next block. And it could be with this theme, it could be another theme. You know, that's the really cool thing about this whole process, is that we're giving you lots of different technique ideas, and you can insert them however you want.
Exactly,
right?
because this one may go over a lot, and you may
Yes.
want to do like a whole quilt.
Oh my
or
goodness,
something.
wouldn't that be
I don't know.
incredible?
It would be really
Okay.
pretty.
Well, we're going to show you exactly what we're talking about in just a moment. But before we do, we just want to give a little shout out to a little small studio audience we have today. So we have, they're going, wait a minute here. What's going on
Kris
here?
is going off the rails.
Here we go. Hey, there was Sandra hanging out. And we invited them to sit on the comfy chairs during theme 2 so that they could come. But Marlene and her dear husband are visiting us from El Dorado, California. Is that correct? Yes. And El Dorado Hills, California. So we are so happy to meet you both, and thank you for being with us.
They look good in those green chairs.
Good. Marlene, you might have to be our guest tomorrow. You're just going to have to spend the night, okay? You're headed to the Antique Roadshow tomorrow, and
fun.
decided to
I'm
make a
calling in
stop here.
sick.
Right.
Going with them.
Exactly. So they went and stopped by Kimberbell and took a tour of Kimberbell, and then came over here. So it's always fun to meet so many wonderful friends out there.
It is. We love
Yeah.
them when they stop by.
Absolutely. All right, friends. Well, let's go ahead and see what Cheri has up her sleeve, because I've got a feeling a lot of you may have a few extra doilies lying around.
Yes.
Doilies.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Tell us.
when I started thinking about this, I just inherited from my mom a box of or 2 of doilies.
Or 2 or 3.
Yes, and I thought a lot about them, because I'm like, okay, I know my great grandma. She was alive. I was 17 or 18 when she passed away, so I knew her pretty well, and I'm pretty sure that these doilies came from her. But I also have doilies from my grandma, and I have doilies from Dave's grandpa. And now they're all getting meshed together, and I don't know whose belongs to who, but I'm pretty sure this is my great grandma's, because this was used. This was a doily that went on a hot pad that was the big silver rings. Any of you remember those? The big silver discs? I bet there's some of you. And so this was used, and it had some staining on it. And as I looked at this and I thought of like my own craft sewing thing, I'm like, I don't want my kids to have all my stuff stuffed in a box that they never look at. So if that's your journey and you are okay with cutting them up.
I think that will probably be the hardest part,
Yes.
is deciding that it is okay to cut it up.
Or I'm going to give you another option. If you don't
Okay.
want to cut it up,
Okay.
something you could do.
I want to know,
But
does it smell?
does it smell?
It does.
Does it smell? I have that old.
It's an old, I love the smell. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it
But,
stinks. When I
like
say
the-
smell, it's not stink. I mean,
Oh no! What just happened?
no, it's like it smells like grandma.
Yeah, like it's been in.
Uh-huh. I love it. I love it. It's actually very sweet. Don't worry. Okay.
So, but I literally took the tree thing and I was like,
The family
I
tree.
have these doilies that happen to be green.
Yeah.
I'm like, could I make them look like a tree?
Make a Christmas tree.
I made a Christmas tree, but this also ties into another memory because when I was about 7, I want to say, my dad made me a dollhouse. It was a big dollhouse.
Okay.
And one of the things that they had done is there was some plastic furniture that went with it, but Grandma crocheted a little bedspread, little pillows with matching shams, a little rug, and all of this. So I still have that in storage somewhere.
I love that.
But I did play with it all the time,
Uh-huh.
all the time. And I know that those came from my great grandma. So she did make a Christmas gift, one of those cool, those, what is it? The best Christmas you remember as a kid that was so
Yes,
magical.
yes.
She was part of one of those moments.
Wow.
So,
That's a
and
great
I'm
thing to
like, well,
remember.
yeah. So I'm like, here she is with a little
Wow.
Christmas memory of great grandma. And the thing that I thought was cool is I did some research on like, how do I attach these? Because you could sew them down. But we went
Yeah,
with
how
the
did you?
beads. We went with the little beads.
The beads are what's holding it
Yes.
down?
I mean, obviously we cut this one
Oh.
and it's sewed into the seam,
Okay.
but we put it on with beads. I did not use glue on this.
Interesting.
It's all starched, and because I was able to do this, I was able to put it on with beads. And I left the jump stitches basically on
Okay.
there so you can see that. And I
Yes.
just would sew it through twice and then tie a little knot. So these could all be cut, but
That totally works.
Yeah.
Now, Cheri, this looks a little intimidating to me.
yes.
Do you have to piece it into the block?
No, you don't have to piece it
Yeah.
into a block because you could just use a piece of fabric that's the size you want it.
Okay.
And then I would recommend, like this is kind of an old time thing too, that they would take their blocks and starch them all and get them all nice and
They're
stiff.
blocking it.
Yeah, they're blocking it. And I did some research on this, like, if you're trying to like historically keep your doilies nice and stuff, people still recommended just using cornstarch and water.
Really?
It's about a 6-to-1 ratio is a good one. So just, but I used my
Okay,
friend
6
Magic Spray.
Oh, hey, that works. Okay, I got to know, 6-to-1 ratio, you're doing...
one teaspoon of cornstarch to 6 teaspoons of water.
Okay, that's so
So-
interesting.
So I thought that was kind of a good tidbit.
yeah.
So, and it needs to be, not,
Can I feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a little bit of body to it.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Look how
on this,
pretty.
we're just gonna put it on, and
Oh, that's gorgeous.
any kind of background. I would recommend something solid to make those
Yeah.
bright colors pop off. And if you
Definitely.
look really close on this one also has some damage on it.
I think that's charming, though.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
I
I
think so
do.
too. And if you look really close, Grandma got off on her count right there.
Grandma, how dare you?
But I mean, seriously, like,
That is
I think,
so beautiful.
isn't it? I
Yeah.
love it. Like, I really, when I looked at that, I was like, I love
Yes.
that.
Oh
So,
my goodness, how beautiful. Oh.
so what we're gonna do is, like I said, this one's kind of floating here in the middle, and we're just
Okay.
gonna put just a touch of glue, like just right there, just to kind of hold it.
Just so that it's just a little bit of,
Yeah.
place there so you can
Yeah, so it
sew
doesn't
your
shift.
beads on.
Yes. Like we don't want lots. So we got that. And then you have options. With the beads, you really could use anything. They can be cut right off.
Okay.
That's the thing, like with those stitches and stuff like that, you can cut them off. I was looking at some, we had these little pearl beads I thought would be super cute.
Hey, even if you had some old beads of your grandma's,
Yes.
you could use those.
I do have some old jewelry that you could take apart, that
yes.
type of a thing, and incorporate their jewelry. The jewelry didn't come from Grandma though; it was from someone else. But you could
But that's
still do
okay.
it.
Yeah.
So we have like some little white crystals. We have
love
little
that.
pink crystals. So looking at that, like there's a lot of options you could do, and it's going to be completely different looks.
Yeah.
So
Suzanne says that she loves that it's variegated. It's so beautiful. It really is, isn't it? I want to know in the comments, how many of you have some old doilies just in a box, perhaps? Or have you done something with them as well? It would be interesting
or
to
are
find
you just
out.
drawn to them and you're picking them up in antique shows and thrift stores?
Right?
And
Exactly. Hey, you two are going to the great the antique roadshow. Will you see if we can get me a few? I don't have any of those in my family, and so something like this, if I wanted that real vintage, feel of something, you could pick those up at an antique
you can.
shop.
And I kind of wondered about the value.
Yeah.
And they said, a lot of them are made in the 30s to 50s, and their value is about $20.
Interesting.
And that's going to
Really?
vary depending on how much. So you're not looking like if you really mess it up. What you want to do is you want to get it out of the box so you are able to enjoy those memories.
You better put some readers on to see these babies.
We're going to
too.
put some readers on.
All right.
Yes, they
so
are very little. So we're just going to, and you could hoop it. It would help.
Do you just randomly?
On the Christmas one, I did randomly. On this one, if I was going to put it into a frame, I would probably be a little bit more specific with, like, I'm going to put this on every fifth thing. I can't talk. You're going to have to talk while I look for the whole.
Kay
There we go. Look at that.
Kay was saying that she has a lot of them, and unfortunately, they are in a box.
Yeah, they
so
are.
Kay, maybe this will be a great inspiration for you. And Kathy said that she has some from her grandma, some towels and tablecloths with tatted edges. She loved tatting. Oh, tatting is.
Isn't that?
Oh, it's just beautiful.
It is.
Absolutely stunning, right? And Betty shares that she has a bunch of doilies and a crochet tablecloth.
Ooh.
You could do some fun things with that too.
You can. I actually have a crochet tablecloth too, and it's beautiful. But I'm like, what do you do? It's big.
It's big.
Yeah.
But do you pull it out for special occasions?
So my mom had it.
Okay.
So it's just me and my sister fought over it, but not in the way you would expect.
What is that supposed to mean?
Who's taking that?
Okay. Yeah, well, there you go.
But it is beautiful, and it I'm like, but what do you do with it? And so that's what, part of this is a challenge of, like, get them out of the box.
Get them out of the
because
box.
they're not doing you any good. You're not remembering your grandma stuffed in a box.
That sounds terrible.
But if you get it out and
Yes.
you see it,
I agree.
and you're like,
Yes.
like, honestly, like, if I look at this, wouldn't this be cute? Wouldn't this be cute to put in your
Cheri.
granddaughter's room?
Yes. Yes, it would.
You love me.
I sure do. Okay. Well, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I love this, and I love the idea of the beads. I don't think I would have thought about using the beads for this.
No, when because I was like, how do I attach it? And
Yeah.
I kind of played with some things. I'm like, ooh, because I wanted ornaments with those ones, so they kind of represent the little red ornaments. But with
Yes.
this, I'm like, this is
That's
such a good
perfect.
technique, like,
That really
because it
is.
holds it on, and I don't have to worry about it really damaging the doily. Like, I
Yeah.
can take it off later, and it's not gonna damage it anymore.
That's right. Don't read the comments. Don't read the comments. Linda said the tatting is beautiful but hard to do. A 96-year young lady tried to teach her.
I do have a roll of tatting from my grandma
Do
too,
you?
and I'm like, what do I do with it? I would love to do something where it's out. It's on a spool.
Sure.
So
Okay, wow. Well, I love this idea. What do you all think? I mean, can you picture this in a quilt block? Can you imagine doing it as one block, or do you see it as an entire quilt? Maybe you wanted to do a table runner or something like that. This is a great idea. If just one block is
Just
something
one
you can
block.
do,
but
put
look
it
how
in a
pretty that
shadow
would
box.
be in a shadow box.
Yes, that would be beautiful.
But even just adding that little bit of beads on there would add just a little bit of that sparkle into
It
there.
would.
And it would hold it in place as you had it there.
Yes, absolutely. Deb shares that her sister has grandma's yo-yo quilt. It's in a drawer and she refuses to let me cut it up. Deb, I've seen that yo-yo quilt and I don't blame Dee for that.
Yes, Dee should keep that under lock and key.
Yes.
Because
She's going to say, whose side are you on?
yes.
Well, I think that's a great idea.
So-
I really like that. So just place that on there, put a few pins. Okay, I love this, Cheri. What a great way to, this is one of those ways you could do for a family tree block, but maybe you're going to do this as part of your legacy block or maybe your legend block or whatever it might be. Let's think about how to incorporate doilies into your quilt. That's
Isn't that
beautiful.
cute?
I love that.
So yeah,
I
maybe
love
this
that
is
so
the one
much.
block you do in Stitch Your Story
There
because
you
you're
go.
gonna revamp what Grandma gave you and get it out so that everyone can enjoy it.
Absolutely. Marilyn shares that she has some old handmade lace and tatting made by one of her ancestors that she needs to do something with. If you are thinking, okay, I'm inspired, I'm going to try something, and you make it, make sure and post it on the Friends of My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop page because we want to see it. We want to celebrate in what you
We
are
want to celebrate
creating.
your grandma.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I'll leave it at that. All right, everyone. Well, thanks, Cheri. That is such a great, great idea. I absolutely love this. And I think there's a lot of people out there who can relate to having all these doilies or these cloths or these things. They want to do something with it, not quite sure what to do with it. So this is a perfect
Exactly.
alternative to just keeping it in the box.
Yep.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, we hope that you're inspired from theme number 2. And we're going to move on to theme number 3 now because Sandra's going to switch Cheri out. She's going to share with us
Getting booted off.
a very special story about how to use memory bears to keep those memories alive from your parents, grandparents, children, anyone who has passed on. We'll be back right after this.
First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna actually make that petal block. We're gonna sew on.
We're going to sew directly on the line.
Yep, these are gonna be our sew line, right?
So we're doing 1/4 inch from the seam line.
From the seam line, yep. So we've got this part of the flying geese. Now we're gonna put our dark yellow blocks right on top, but we're going to put the diagonal the other direction.
Straight down that line.
And then you're gonna do the same thing
my gosh.
with that one. It was super easy.
It's actually really simple.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're gonna do it one more time for the stem, and we're gonna do something funny with this too.
So if you take a look, you can see this is on one side and this is on the other side, and the line is going in that opposite direction.
When we do another 1/4 inch, so the stem meets up and you have this nice little meet and you don't have a weird point there.
Remember that 3 Things Live is where we always have something to make you smile
Something to learn.
and something to discover.
Let's go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to 3 Themes Live. I'm with Sandra, and we're here for theme number 3. We had to get Cheri out of here. She's too fun. But, as we talk about family tree and the connections that we make with family and loved ones, one of the things that I think can be very endearing, especially when someone has passed on, is to use bits of their clothing. We see that in quilts quite often.
Yeah.
And perhaps just different memorabilia that helps us remember them and, just keeps them top of mind for us. And so one of those items that often people will do as well are called memory bears. Have you heard of those? Have you seen them? What exactly is a memory bear, Sandra?
Well, to me, when anybody was to say that, it's something that you would make that would maybe remind you of something that of them. So there's lots of different aspects you can use. You can use their clothes. You can use all different kinds of fabric, T-shirts, different things like that. So when you asked me to do a memory bear, I went home and I thought, you know, I don't have anything from my dad. My dad's been gone since 2003. I didn't really have anything from my dad. I didn't have anything from my grandparents that I could use for a memory bear. But I did have one thing that I could use. Sorry. In early 2006, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I lived here. I lived in Salt Lake. She was in Idaho. But I wanted to spend as much time with her as I could. So whenever I had the opportunity, I would go up and I would spend a week or so with my mom. And we needed to do something to distract her, but also to distract us, okay? So, and as many of you know, my mother taught me how to quilt. And that was, obviously, that was in the, I still had kids in school, and so it was a little bit harder. But it was at a time when I had just barely started learning to quilt. And my mom had been doing a lot of quilting, a lot of quilting. But anyway, I said to Mom, I said, Mom, let me pick a quilt pattern and you help me with it. So I found a sampler quilt, actually, out of a magazine. And so Mom and I went out to the different quilt stores and we picked fabric and we picked, you know, different things to go for this quilt. And so every time that, and I left it there in Idaho with her, so every time I went to Boise, I would sit with my mom and we would start making this quilt.
I love that.
And in mid-2007, she passed from the cancer, from the breast cancer. And I took it at that time and I put it in a box, in a tote. And guess what? That's where it stayed. So when you asked me to do this, I thought, what is it that I could use to make this memory quilt? I mean, this memory bear. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I pulled the tote out from underneath the bed and I opened it up and I started going through all the fabric. And this is what I got.
Oh my goodness.
And so I used the fabric that was intended for the quilt. I've only got a couple of the blocks that are done, and maybe this is going to motivate me to do it, to finish the quilt.
I love this.
But I used some of the fabric from that quilt and made this memory bear.
Oh my goodness.
So
this is
that's what I did.
Special. Oh, let's take a look at this. This is,
I think it turned out adorable.
I think it did too, and I think your mom would be looking down and saying, "Oh, you did something with that fabric."
Yes, exactly.
I love this so much. It is so sweet and so precious, and it's beautiful, Sandra.
Yeah, he turned out really cute.
This is the fabric that you and your mom were sewing together.
Right. There's other pieces that go along with it, obviously, and some background fabrics and stuff. But these are the ones that I picked out to make the bear.
I love this so much. Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. I know that puts you in a very vulnerable spot.
It does.
When we hear these things and we all can relate in some way and know that there are things that, you know, just bring us those memories flooding right back.
It does.
And these are happy tears.
Oh yeah,
You know,
for sure,
these are,
for sure.
These are tears of sadness, but also joy because it reminds you of such a special time.
And this will be good for me. It's good therapy for me too. So it's been really great. But when Cheri said she was going to do this on Doilies, and she took her grandma out of the box. Sorry. I actually took my grandma out of the cedar chest.
Okay.
So I'm just going to quickly show you these few things that I have that Cheri has totally inspired me to do. And this is one of the doilies that my grandma had made.
That's gorgeous.
And so I am actually going to take that, and I think I'm gonna do something with it.
That's beautiful.
I've always thought I got to take this, I got to mat it, I got to frame it, I got to do something with it.
Oh my goodness.
And the thing about it is that my grandma was the one that taught me how to crochet.
Oh.
My mom didn't do a lot of crocheting, but
Yeah.
my grandma did a ton. And so again, whenever I spent
to see
time,
what you do with this.
I wanna take some. But
That's
anyway, these are
gorgeous.
just a couple of little things that I pulled out of the cedar chest that my grandma had made.
Oh, my
so I'm
goodness.
thinking, okay, I got to figure out something that I'm going to do with all of these different things
Wow.
that are memories for me and my grandma.
Absolutely. You know, I think sometimes if we have a huge box of these kinds of items, we get overwhelmed and think, oh my goodness, I can't do something with all of them. Don't.
Yeah.
Don't
Oh, yeah.
even try.
Right.
Take 1, 2, 3 of those items out, use it somehow, and it's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
It's okay.
I agree.
You don't have to do something with every
All
single
of them.
piece.
You're right.
And maybe an unpopular opinion, but you don't have to keep everything either. Just saying.
Okay, thank you.
You don't have to. I'm going to give you all permission. You do not have to
Right.
keep
And
everything.
I agree.
Keep a few of those pieces that are very special,
Yeah.
but you don't have to keep it all.
I've got to that point to where I'm starting to let go of those things a little bit at a time. So yeah,
This
you're
is
right.
so beautiful, Sandra.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely love this.
Yeah.
And what great memories this brings back. As we close today, is there anything in particular of something you would share on, was the bear hard to make?
No,
Was it tricky? Was it?
No, it
you know?
actually is very easy. The pattern that they gave me to do this is from Funky Friends Factory, and it's called Ben the Beginner Bear. And he definitely is a beginner bear to do. And it was super simple. The instructions were incredible.
Okay.
They were very, very good. And she also had some online little tips and tricks of how to
nice.
do it. So yeah, this is a really easy one, and he's adorable.
Yeah, absolutely.
He
Oh, my
really did
goodness.
turn out so cute. And no, it's not hard at all. It doesn't take a lot of time
Shauna
to do
was
it.
saying that you should continue to make the quilt and have those, together. And what a
Yeah, I agree.
special thing that will be. Oh my goodness. Marilyn shares that her cousin took some Dresden plate blocks that were made by our grandmother, put them in a frame for each of the cousins, 30 of them.
Oh, goodness.
Plus, and she has one hanging near her long arm. And yeah, those
Marilyn,
are the
that's-
things that are
yeah,
so
exactly.
very special.
I agree.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, thank you, Sandra, for sharing with us. I love you
bet.
so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. No,
Whew,
thank you for
that gets
challenging
me.
me to do this, because this is what it took.
yes.
So
yes.
thank you.
You're welcome. Well, we hope that you've been inspired. We hope that you'll try something new. And if you're interested in the pattern for the memory bear, you can find it on our website. If you're interested in the beautiful book that Debbie Hepner shared with us today, you can find that through her website called debstories.com, debstories.com. Or you can find it on Amazon as well. Before we end today, I want to let you all know that Kimberbell Weekend, that's right, not Kimberbell Day.
Oh, yeah, not for us.
Not for us. We call it Kimberbell
Yeah.
Weekend. We all know that Kimberbell Day, K-Day, is coming up on July 26th, Saturday, July 26th. But here at Girlfriends, we're going to celebrate it all weekend. So we are doing a big event July 25th and 26th. It's going to be virtual. Watch Wednesday's Three Themes Live for more details. And just know that we have something really special in the works. So plan on a fun Friday, Saturday virtual event with the girlfriends. And one more thing is we have a special 4th of July Three Themes Live going on, coming up real soon. And we want to see your photos celebrating the 4th of July. So please, we'd love to see them. We'd love to share them. Just show us, what does that hometown parade look in your community? Or what is the one tradition that your family can't live without? You have to do it every 4th of July. Maybe it's a special fireworks show that you do. Whatever it is that you celebrate, the way you celebrate it, we want to see it. So please send your pictures to marketing@mygirlfriendsquiltshop.com. And don't forget, shop is SHOPPE. And one final reminder before we leave, tomorrow
Morning at 9 o'clock, we are doing our Kimberbell digital dealer exclusive block for the month.
So join Sandra and Kyle for that. And it's right here on our Facebook page as well as YouTube channel, 9 a.m. Mountain Time.
Yep.
All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We're so, so grateful every time that you tune in and watch, whether it's live or whether it's later. There's always things to learn and to share with one another and to grow our community. And you're a huge part of that. You are everything. About it.
Oh, yes.
And we're so grateful when you are a part of it, and we always welcome more. So, all right, friends, we'll end today by just saying thank you for watching. Continue to do all the things you love, and we hope to see you again real soon. Bye-bye.